Hey guys, V-Man from No Budget Productions here. So I got to thinking about the direction of uh, Warner Brothers, uh, DC Comics in general, um, both um, both of those entities, and the comics, um, the TV side, the movies. Um, for those of you that don't know, I'm a huge comic nerd, mostly DC. For those of you that don't know, here is my wall of Robin action figures. Um, I'm a huge uh, Robin nerd. That character got me into comic books. Um, when Batman 1989 came out, that was huge. And my parents were of the mind, you're not going to like this Batman shit when you're an adult. And here I am as an adult, and I love Batman just as much as I did when I was a kid. Um, so as I sit back and I look at a production company, um, mismanage characters uh, on screen, um, take characters that I hold dear, like Robin, Nightwing, um, and poorly use them on the TV screen. Um, there's so many missteps that I see that Warner Brothers has done. Um, so the the things that I see that DC has done poorly. And again, this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. Those of you that disagree with me, you're entitled to your opinion, and it's just as valid as mine. This is just a discussion, and anyone that wants to chime in the chat, dude, by all means. If I see it, I'll put it up here. Um, so I was a huge fan of the Arrowverse when it first came out. Um, Arrow was awesome. The first couple early seasons, about maybe midway through season four, I kind of checked out. Um, when they kind of brought in the new Team Arrow, I kind of was like, not really my thing. It kind of turned into the Felicity show, and I kind of had a dim view upon that storyline. I didn't like that at all. I thought they took the focus off of Oliver too much. But by that point, I had kind of turned my attention to the Flash TV show, and I loved that show. I thought that was really really good. Um, Again, first couple of seasons were great. Um, you get to about maybe season four, it kind of started to wear off. It seemed like they were kind of going through the motions. Um, the rest of the Arrowverse was kind of hit or miss on some storytelling. Legends of Tomorrow, I watched the first season of that, and I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I stuck it out through the first season. Um, the second season I tried to watch, and I just couldn't get into it. I don't think the show was for me. As much as I wanted to like it, I just couldn't. And even when they brought Kid Flash in, um, which is my favorite character on the Flash, um, underused, but my favorite character, that wasn't enough to hold my attention. When they brought in Reverse Flash on Legends of Tomorrow, uh, that wasn't enough to keep my attention. Um, there was just something about the writing. It wasn't the superhero stuff that I enjoyed. So I think the series just was not meant. I don't think I was the target audience. Um, Going around to Supergirl, I really wanted to like that show because at the time we didn't have Superman on TV, and for those that don't know me, Smallville, I loved Smallville. Um, I started watching about maybe the beginning of season four of Smallville and finished it to the end of the series, and I loved the telling of a young Clark Kent. on his way to becoming Superman. And I'm not really a Superman fan because I feel like the character is so unrelatable. But I really could connect with that young character finding, who he is in the world. I felt like that was a very relatable character. Um, so the fact that we hadn't had Smallville in so long, and Supergirl was kind of maybe something that was close to what we had with Smallville. So I gave it a chance for the first season. And I, man, again, I don't think I was the demographic for the show, but I stuck it out. And then I think I probably stopped out maybe midway through season two, and I was like, I can't. Um, Batwoman. I I started reviewing the shows with Batwoman, and I got about 6 episodes in, and I was like, I can't do this. I absolutely hate the show in every fashion. Um, no Dick Grayson, no Tim Drake, no nothing. Like this is nothing like what Gotham should be in any capacity. I don't know why they even would go down the route of having a Bat character. You know, it was almost parody on some points. And when season two came around for Batwoman, I came back because I thought maybe with a new character in the for the title uh, role, maybe this is a good jumping on point again. And it wasn't. It was almost as bad, or if not worse than what it was the first season. Um, and again, I don't know what the hell the problem was with the writers, but it seemed like as they went along with Arrow, and they went along with the Flash, and then they started with these, with Supergirl going along, it just seemed like the writing was dumbed down. And again, with Batwoman, like not using any of the real title characters at all from the Bat franchise, um, except for in title only. I mean, I think Hush was in there, but it was just it was done so poorly on every fashion, and that's been the biggest problem with DC is they have such restrictions, like with no Bruce Wayne on Smallville, or no Batman, or if you have Batman in this one, you can't use Robin over here, or vice versa. It's they're so restrictive on all their properties, and I think that's been part of the big issue with like James Gunn being brought on for the new DC regime, um, canceling everything last year with all their DC films. It like for anyone that doesn't know, as of right now, uh, supposedly the company is like their stocks are just tanking pretty badly, and supposedly the company is up for sale. And again, I don't know. This is all just stuff that I've seen online. It's out there, so feel free to Google it. Um, but to to my a lot of this stuff could have been fixed if you let the directors direct their projects and have that vision and stick to it instead of course correcting after every movie, um, or not being so restrictive on a series or franchise. Like we are the Marvel has done it a lot of a lot of the right way. Um, that's not proper English. Forgive me. I just got off 12-hour shift, so my mind's kind of turning to clay. They've done a lot of good in what they've done. Now, recently, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the Marvel stuff. I think they're kind of stretching themselves out too thin, and the writing's not been there, the quality's not been there. A lot with Doctor Who. I don't feel like the writing's been there. And again, that's just a taste issue. To those that enjoy it, you're free to enjoy what you like. But with DC, um, the writing just was not there. Um, but Marvel really did do it right from planning, and even if it doesn't make the long term money, like we have a plan, we're going to stick to it. And once people can see what we're doing, they'll jump on. And with DC, as soon as something doesn't make the most amount of profit, they turncoat, they switch gears. And that's been the biggest thing, is because there's not a consistent uh, goal for what they're doing, with either their movies, um, or their comic books, or their TV shows. Like everything just feels disjointed, and it feels like nothing really matters. Like, have you tried picking up a comic book lately? It's fucking it's so unapproachable to a new comic book fan. They reboot the comics every 2 to 5 years. Everything is uh, uh, an event. And I remember when I was younger, Nightfall was an event, No Man's Land was an event. Um, and those were big things. They still are mentioned from time to time, like being those big events, and they're mentioned, historically as being big events, and occasionally they'll be referenced in the Bat Family books. But it's one of those things where it's like now it's like every other week it's an event like that in Gotham. Uh, and Metropolis and whatnot, and the Justice League it's just like every day it's like an event. It's hard to pick up a comic. My son turned 7 yesterday, and for to introduce him to comic books, it's impossible to do that now. And with as much as they revise their characters constantly, it's like you can't really get attached to a character, because next year they're going to reboot them, and what may happen in this comic may not be relevant next year. And it's so sad, because the same thing has happened with uh, these franchises. It's as much as I love, uh, Ben Affleck as Batman, and Christian Bale as Batman, Michael Keaton as Batman, Robert Pattinson as Batman. Like, I love all of them. But there comes a certain point where it's like, look, I'm tired of everything being rebooted. And I don't mind there being, hey, we've got this movie for over here, we've got this Justice League. Like, I don't mind those things, but you can have several different things, like several different comic books, and say, hey, we're going to tell this Ben Affleck Batman story and keep this relevant. We're going to keep this going. We're going to tell Robert Pattinson's over here. Like, these are two different things. It's just like different artists on a Batman comic book. Um, but at the same point, like, stop rebooting everything, because give you're not giving the audience enough credit. We can handle having two different Batman. Look what they did with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and Tom Holland Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Like, we can handle it. We know that there's different Batman. We can handle more than one franchise going on at one time. Like, and there are people out there that would go to all of them. I would. I'm a fan of the character. But it's one of those things where it's like you can have a Batman that has a Robin by his side, and will go in Arkham and fight Deathstroke. And then you can have a Batman over here that's more solitude, and dark and grim, and gritty, and I mean, you can have all these different Batman iterations, just like they have different Batman styles in comics. Like, I remember Shadow of the Bat was more uh, gothic and mythic, and you had Legends of the Dark Knight, which told more tales of Batman Year One, and then you have Detective Comics, which is more mystery novel stuff, type stories, and then you had the regular Batman books, which usually had Robin by his side. Like, those are the four main Batman titles when I was a kid, and those are generally the stories that you would get when you picked up that title. And you could have movies like that with Warner Brothers, if they were to just listen to like what the fans want, just say, what, let's try this. And if you had a low enough budget, instead of trying to make all of these, super mega blockbusters, like, just spend enough to where you're not spinning yourself into a hole, uh, and put some of these out on, ship them out to like Netflix or Hulu, or whatever, or hell, HBO Max. Like, people would tune in if you had every 6 months a Batman film, or a fucking Titans film, or something. Like the Titans show, as much as some people hated it, or bitched that it wasn't, close to continuity or whatever, like, it was it was nice to finally see a live action Nightwing. Um, and that's like, to me, again, Tim Drake is my favorite character in comics. He's my favorite Robin. I wasn't the biggest fan of how they handled Tim Drake in the final season. I wish we had gotten more of him as Robin, doing Robin stuff. Um, I really wasn't a fan of the relationship stuff. I wish they had just focused more on, hey, give me Robin. Like, I'm tired of seeing people in relationships on stuff. I wish they just give us the characters. Because I felt like they had so much more of a story to tell, and they didn't tell it well, especially for wrapping up a character. Um, it To me, it's like that you're focusing on the wrong aspects of things. Um, and again, there's people out there that probably disagree with me, and that's okay. But for all the wrongs that it had, it did a lot right. Like, it gave us a transition from a pissed off Robin to Nightwing, and that was awesome to see. It gave us Jason Todd Robin. Hey, Rufus, hey, Neelan. Uh, it gave us a Jason Todd Robin transition to Red Hood, which was awesome to see. It gave us the death of Jason Todd. Who ever thought we would see that in live action? Let alone the full arc. And actually care about the character. Uh, and then to see Tim Drake. Again, we got 3 live action Robins. And we, fully fleshed out. Well, maybe not fully fleshed out in some categories, but we got to see them in live action, and that was very cool. But there's so much that they've done, that they could do better if they were to just stop holding down uh, the shackles. Like, does any of us really buy? As much as I love the actor who played Bruce in Titans, do we really buy that actor was that world's Batman? I don't. I loved him in Game of Thrones, but I did not for one second buy him as Bruce Wayne or Batman, especially for that world's Batman. Um, so I really think that if Warner Brothers were to sit back and look at all these properties and just stop switching gears all the time and let these people create their vision for what they're doing instead of meddling all the time. Um, and a bigger budget doesn't necessarily mean um, more profit. And that's the biggest thing with this company is they just keep throwing money at problems and expecting to make more money back. And then they meddle with it. And the thing about it is, like, some of your most successful movies have been low budget movies, or movies that have tanked in theaters, but then found their success on VHS or DVD releases as underground. Oh man, did you check this out? Here's my copy. Check it out. And some of that's been lost because of streaming. We don't have that VHS underground type vibe anymore. Um, so you have to look at it and say what's really best for um, the big picture, not just uh, the maximum amount of profit. Because eventually it's going to get to the point where us fans are going to turn away and say, I don't care about any of this shit. I know I'm at that point with Warner Brothers and DC, where I haven't picked up a comic book in 17 years, 12 years, something like that. Let's see, 2000, 2007, 2008, so 15 years ago was the last time I actually picked up a comic book. And I mean, I may have straggled through it, browsed through it, put it back, but nothing that was like, man, I got to buy this. And I have tons of them, and I'll let Royce look through them. But like, nothing has appealed to me, um, just because of the way it's presented, the stories that they're telling. It's unappealing. And I fear that they've turned off their older fans to try to latch onto some of the newer people, the newer fans. And the newer fans, I feel, have checked out. They're not as interested in a comic book or some of the stories that are told. We have a lot of people that are into the TikTok, 30 seconds of a video, give me that much attention. It's right here. And then I'm going to move on. If it doesn't hold my attention for 10 seconds or 15 seconds, I'm skipping over. They don't want to watch the fully developed stuff. Um, and that's where I feel like comic books are, there's, they're not looking at the bigger picture, you know, um, and they're losing what is making comic books important, what's making these characters important, you know. Um, and I don't know. I like I said, I had some thoughts on the stuff, and I worry about these characters. I feel like in some fashion they'll always kind of be there, but kind of in the same fashion that we all know about our cartoons when we were a kid, or our parents' cartoons. Like, when was the last time you guys saw a Howdy Doody cartoon? But we all, at least most people from my generation know who Howdy Doody is. But when was the last time you saw a fucking Howdy Doody comic or cartoon or movie? And that's where I feel like some of these characters, like if we're not careful, like we are walking close to that, because if Warner Brothers goes bankrupt, or like, maybe somebody will come along that'll do these characters justice. I hope that's the case, because I feel like Warner Brothers has mismanaged these characters. But what if they don't? Because there's only so much greed that'll go around before the public really does kind of lose interest in these people, and there's so much burnout that uh, we can have of being regurgitated the same reboot and reboot and reboot and reboot before we're like, I don't care. And then the studio's like, well, then if they don't care, we're not going to put this out anymore. And then characters go stagnant, you know. Um, so I mean, it's kind of like in some areas, Masters of the Universe, the action figures. Like, I see online, like it's doing very well for the people that order online, but you go to the fucking toy aisle, and I can't. It's the same toys that were there last year at this time: Jitsu, Sorceress, uh, fucking Naked Stratos, the variant of Stratos, um, and Leech, the same ones that were there last year at this time. And because I remember having the same conversation, and and that's the same wave. And uh, as opposed to the people online who are like, well, just order it from Big Bad Toy Store. I'm like, but the whole point of collecting toys and playing with my kid with the toys is going to the toy store, buying them there, getting that experience of, hey, I found the new figure, but people lose interest because you're not rotating through stuff. People lose interest because it's not there. You're not giving them something to be interested in. And that's what I feel with these characters. Like, and you can give the excuse of, well, then you need to buy more so that they can have one. Fuck off with that. Put the shit on clearance. give an interest for those figures. And I feel the same thing with these characters. Like, I know with James Gunn, he's putting out Creature Commandos. He's putting out The Authority. He's putting out a couple of other things that, like, listening to it, like, I don't give a fuck about those things. Like, I want the characters that I like from the comic book that I know and recognize, that I can look at that on a poster board and go, oh, fuck yeah, I want to see that shit. Or it comes on, and I see the menu on my HBO or Max or whatever the fuck they call it this week. And I'm like, oh, I'll watch that shit. Oh, I can't wait to watch that. It's kind of like Star Trek Discovery. I don't give a fuck about Star Trek Discovery. Like, I'm not a fan of that series at all. The fact that its final season's coming out, I think April or May, and it's like, I don't care. Like, when the series leaves, it's whatever. Because the series, like, it's had its ups and downs, and again, people will like it or they won't. It's up to them. But I love Strange New Worlds. I love Lower Decks. And I loved Star Trek Picard season 3. First two sucked. But uh, you need something that is going to hold people's attention. You need something that's going to be something that's good for people. With some of these franchises, it's burnout. It's not good stuff. And if you continue to put out crap, people stop caring. You know, um, so I don't know. Comment. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm just talking to myself here, and if I am, it was nice to get on and chat. I haven't done this in a while. Um, Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. Uh, and if you guys want me to continue chit chatting from time to time, more than happy to do it. Uh, but anyway, with that being said, be genuine, be safe, and keep on geeking on, guys.